All right, everyone. Today we're going to look at factoring polynomials that have a coefficient, a leading coefficient greater than 1. The problem with quadratic polynomials that have a leading coefficient greater than 1 is the following. So here's an example of a polynomial that has a leading coefficient of just 1. The nice part about knowing how this factors is knowing that both parentheses begin with x. That's going to be something that's really important because now when we plug in numbers at the end, in this particular case 3 and 2, not only do we know that those are going to make 6, but we know that those are definitely going to get multiplied by just regular x. So when we multiply it all back out, we'll have a 2x and a 3x in there that'll add to 5x. The problem when we have that leading coefficient greater than 1, let's use 2 as a little bit more of a straightforward example, is that one of those parentheses in this particular case is going to need to begin with 2x. Okay? So while you might look at this one and say, well, I just find numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 7. Well, it doesn't work that way in this one, because if I were to put a 6 and a 1 in there, you have to remember that one of those numbers is getting multiplied by a 2. So the relationship between the numbers that we have in our final answer are changed because we have something that we have something other than x at the beginning of both of our parentheses. So what I'm going to suggest initially is that we use a basic process of guess and check. Okay. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to kind of quickly show you the multiplication process one more time, but I'm going to show it to you in a way that kind of color codes things. And I want you to kind of see where all of these different numbers are coming from. Okay, so if we were to multiply all this out, we would get, should be red. We would get 6x squared, and then we would get, this is where it's interesting, we'd get plus 15x plus 4x. I'm actually going to put those in both red and blue. So while it looks weird for me to be doing that, what I want you to notice is that those came from multiplying red terms and blue terms. Then at the end we get a plus 10. So when we see our final answer of 6x squared plus 19x plus 10, what we should kind of realize is this. If you look at the numbers that were multiplied to get each of those things, the 3x and the 2x combined to make the 6x squared. The 5 and the 2 combined to make the 10, but it was some combination of all of those numbers that made the 19x. So basically what we're going to do when we guess and check is we are going to basically guess things that make the first and the last term work, and then we're going to check the middle. Okay? So what I mean by that is this. For this one, our initial guess, we're going to put something at the beginning of each parentheses that multiply to 2x squared. Luckily, in this particular case, there's really only one choice. It's 2x and x. Then we're going to put something at the end that multiplies to 5. Again, in this particular case, we only have one choice. It's 5 and 1. So the order you put that in matters, though. We're going to try doing 1 and 5. And then the way we would check is we don't have to do all of the multiplication. We know that the first and the last term work. All we have to do is check the middle term. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to write this down, but what you're basically doing is checking those multiply to 10x, those multiply to 1x. Those do not add to 7x, so that was an incorrect guess. Okay, so I'm going to switch the order of the 5 and the 1. Then I'm going to check again. 2x and 1 multiply to 2x. 5x and x multiplied to 5x, those would add to 7x. So 2x plus 5 times x plus 1 is our final answer. That's really what guess and check looks like. You are just guessing things that make the first number, guessing things that make the second, and then trying to make sure it works out to make the next one. We've got a couple of these left. What I'd like for you to do is this. I would like for you to try the next two, and then we're going to talk about that last one in class. So try the next two, pause, and then come back. All right, I'm assuming you've done that by now. Looking at this next one, guessing, we're going to have 2x and x for sure. And then we're going to have 5 and 1. Well, I had 5 and 1 on the last one, and the 5 came first, but that shouldn't be the same answer as this one, so I'm going to put the 1 and the 5. And when I check, 2x and 5 make 10x, 1 and x make 1x, those add to 11x, so I'm all good. So it's 2x plus 1 times x plus 5. Where C differs is that you have a negative number in there. Okay, so we for sure begin with 3x and x, but now we need numbers that multiply to negative 2. And that negative is going to become important, and where we put that negative is going to become important. Okay, so I'm going to try plus 1 and minus 2. If I do that and I multiply everything out, I'll for sure get the 3x squared and the negative 2, but in the middle, I'm going to get negative 6x plus 1x. Those would add to negative 5x. I wanted a positive 5x in the middle. I kind of made that mistake intentionally because what I want you to realize is that now all I have to do is change my middle symbols. Okay, so I can change that plus 1 to a negative 1 and that to a plus 2, and that's for sure going to work out, right? Because now I get 6x and negative x. So if you ever want that middle symbol just to switch and go the other way, you can just change both of your middle symbols on your parentheses. That was a basic look at guess and check. We'll look at that fourth one in class.